Areas of interest continue across the Pacific on tonight's Tropical Weather Bulletin. And now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical Weather Bulletin for November 27th. Right now there are still no active tropical cyclones, but there are a few rumblings across the Pacific today, as we were looking at yesterday. We're still at 89 storms for the year so far. The average per year is 92. We're very close. In the Atlantic, we're very close to the end of hurricane season on day 180. And there are no areas of interest to be monitoring right now at all. It's very quiet and really nothing to talk about in the Atlantic tropics today. In the Eastern Pacific, it's day 197 of hurricane season, and we're still watching this area of interest in the Central Pacific, which has a 20% chance of developing as it slowly moves towards the north. That's actually down a little bit from yesterday when it was 30%. Models have collapsed a little bit with their support, but there is still a system there tangibly could form. Western Pacific, we have two areas of interest, but both of them not looking so great, particularly on the forecast. 10 and 20% for both these systems here, and they're going to be low latitude, but it's really looking less likely now. And in the Indian Ocean, no areas of interest at this moment in time. Very quiet in this basin, and really nothing to tell you at all. Same too for the Southern Hemisphere at this time as well. Well, let's take a look at the latest satellite imagery across the Atlantic Ocean. You can see this enormous gulf of dry air all across the Caribbean, stretching into the main development region of the Atlantic. This is what a late season / winter time Atlantic looks like. A few extratropical cyclones right up there with that strong one off the coast of the United States. Another trough moving in there through the eastern part of the US. And then you've got all of this feeding on from little disturbances in the Eastern Pacific, very low latitude, very disorganized, probably not a huge amount of energy as they cross over Central America. But meanwhile, in the Central Pacific, we've got these two features. First of all, the area of interest, 20% on this broad system here. It looks like it's slowly trying to acquire a little bit of rotation on the left-hand side, but we're not expecting really that it will develop from that left side. It's going to be more towards that central area, and as we've annotated, it'll be a slight movement north-northwest, and then we're expecting it to turn more northeasterly. It will pass harmlessly away from the Hawaiian Islands, and at the moment it may even split into two different systems. One of them that forms for a little bit and dies off, and then another one that forms out of it. Here's the other system, which many people are suggesting is a subtropical storm right now. A fascinating feature in the higher latitudes there. The Central Pacific Hurricane Center haven't recognized it, and that's going to be moving slightly towards the west, then northwestwards in the next couple of days, and it's probably around its peak right now or in the next few hours. Western Pacific looks like this. You can see three tropical waves, one of them blowing itself out near the Philippines, another one in the middle there, that's the one that we've got a 20% chance for, and now this one on the right hand side, which we've got a 10% chance for. Those two will stay quite a low latitude. The one on the right might get a little bit higher, closer towards Guam, and the other one obviously staying down, heading towards Mindanao. Indian Ocean looks like this. You can see that convection is quite lacking generally across the whole basin, but there's quite a few blowing up across Indonesia, and one or two little spots over the Bay of Bengal, mainly monsoonal nature. And the Australian region, you can see things are getting quite a bit more energized there as well across the whole northern half of Australia really, and more weather fronts moving through towards the populated southeast with some significant showers by the looks of things. Also a strong trough there not far Fiji and Vanuatu. Sea surface temperatures in the Central Pacific are still fairly warm, around 26 to 27 degrees actually, near the current system. In the Eastern Pacific, still touching 30 degrees. The Atlantic still looking decent in the Caribbean, but temperatures, as we've mentioned, are falling off now in the higher latitudes in the Atlantic, as you would expect. So it's really going to be constricted to the Western Caribbean if we're going to see any late season activity, I would feel. But stranger things have happened. Indian Ocean, still decent SSTs there as well. The Andaman Sea, actually, 1 or 2 spots of 30 degrees there. Sometimes you can get late season activity that starts from there, or in the Gulf of Thailand, or in the South China Sea even. And in the Western Pacific there as well, decent temperatures still pushing close to 30 degrees across the Philippine Sea, especially at lower latitudes where that 1 or 2 of those areas of interest could be tracking towards. So decent conditions still over there in the West Pac. And that's helped by warm anomalies. Look at the South China Sea there, pushing 3 degrees above average and 2 to 3 degrees in the rest of the Western Pacific. East Pac below average due to the La Nina, and in the Atlantic it's decent in the higher latitudes, but that really doesn't matter very much at this point of the season, at least for tropical ambitions. Oceanic heat content is still there in the Caribbean Sea, but it is really falling away now. Still a few areas that could be tapped into by potential tropical cyclones. Eastern Pacific, not much left of that. Western Pacific starting to diminish a little bit as well, except in the far low latitudes there near the equator. Not many storms formed that low, but you never know with 1 or 2 of these waves. We've got extremely high OHC down there. Computer models, and this is the GFS 5-day forecast. You can see that system moving northwestwards, the subtropical one, and the other system which doesn't really have much of a life now on the GFS model. How things have changed since yesterday. However, having said that, in that second stint there, it does look like that it just about reaches tropical storm status just as it passes through the Hawaiian Islands. If you're wondering what that feature is on the top left there as well, underneath our time bar, that was an extratropical cyclone. This is the Australian region. The Gulf of Carpentaria may have an area of interest in the next 5 days, and the GFS is going quite heavy on this, becoming a significant tropical storm, possibly getting close to hurricane force as it reaches the west coast near Waipa, I believe, on the Cape York Peninsula, and then it continues southeastwards towards the east coast there near Cairns, but it will not have much left of it by the time it reaches the Coral Sea and won't last any longer. In the longer range, we've got the 5 to 10 day period here, and we don't have any rainfall charts today, unfortunately. It's not working, but the 5 to 10 day period showing a little feature there in the Gulf of Thailand. You can see it there just making landfall actually in Thailand on the 5th of December. A little feature that would be a very rare landfall there if it did actually do that as a tropical storm. But there it is, briefly getting tropical storm status once, maybe twice, maybe a depression, but really interesting to watch. That was quick. All the serious stuff is done and dusted. You can scan the barcode and take a look at Force 13's merch store. All kinds of stuff there for your pleasure, and are still waiting for a Hone t-shirt. How much longer will we be able to keep this one up? It's looking more likely by the day that we'll see Hone soon. In the Scilly range, this is the 10 to 16 day range, and we've only got to look at the Australian region because there's nothing else on the GFS model for this period, so it's gone quite quiet. But in the Australian region, we could be looking at another system there in the Coral Sea right at the end of that 16-day period, so I wouldn't put any faith into that at all. And we just get to glimpse right at the end on day 16 a little tropical storm developing and starting to move towards the coast of Queensland. Whether it gets there or not, or whether it even forms, is a big question mark. Can you believe that Hurricane Week starts tomorrow? Wow, we're really excited here at Force 13 HQ. It's going to be a fabulous week. Meanwhile, on this day, another wacky year, November 27th, 1990. Guess this, we had 2 Category 5s and a Category 4 active in the Pacific Ocean. So if you think, if you've seen it all, then I guess you can look back at this date. Late in the season, 2 simultaneous Category 5s and a Category 4 in the South Pacific, Paige, Owen, and Sina. Sina was close to Fiji, I think, at this point, and Paige was just recurving, very close for comfort, to the Philippine Islands. Wow. Back to this year, and it starts to look a little bit dull now, doesn't it? The next name on the Atlantic naming list, if we get another one, highly doubtful now, it's Owen. In the Eastern Pacific, Seymour, even more unlikely, and in the Central Pacific, it is still Hone that we're looking out for. In the Western Pacific, it's not listed here because we've run out of space, but it's Pakar, and in the North Indian Ocean, the next name is Mandus. And if that ever happens, that'll become number 90 for the year so far. In the Southern Hemisphere, in Australia, the next name is Darien, the Southwest Indian Ocean, Chiniso, and in the South Pacific, it's going to be Harley. That's all from tonight's Tropical Weather Bulletin. We'll be back again. I'm not sure, actually. We're not going to be here tomorrow night, and we're probably going to be doing the Hurricane Week 1s live, so stay tuned.